This is Johan from BeesNeez Pro Audio, and today we're taking a look at the BeesNeez BU47 microphone. The BeesNeez BU47 is a large diaphragm multi-pattern tube condenser microphone. It's a faithful component-level recreation of the legendary Neumann U47, a microphone that set the standard for vocal and instrument recording for decades. Initially, the U47 was released with the M7 capsule, before later transitioning to the K47. And as there are subtle differences in the sound signatures of these two capsules, the BeesNeez BU47 is offered with two interchangeable head units, either containing a BeesNeez M7 capsule or the BeesNeez BK47. Hence, you've got the option of picking the capsule that you prefer. The tube in the BU47 is a carefully selected new old stock military spec era-appropriate tube, and the transformer is the custom-made BeesNeez BV08. The BU47 is offered in 4 configurations, and these different configurations basically impact the choice of capsule and polar patterns. See, the original Neumann U47 was the first condenser microphone that came with selectable polar patterns. It offered cardioid and omni, and this is reflected in the two base models of the BeesNeez BU47, the M and the K models. The difference between these two being which capsule is used, the M7 or the BK47. And just like on the original, cardioid and omni patterns are selectable on the head unit. To appreciate the relevance of the other two BU47 configurations that BeesNeez offers, let's consider a bit of microphone history. With the success of the U47, Neumann later introduced the U48. And this mic, being nearly identical to the U47, famously changed which polar patterns it offered. It offered cardioid and figure 8 instead of the U47's omni. Now, only about 800 U48s were ever made, making it a very rare microphone. And to address the demands for greater versatility and efficiency in the studio, Neumann also released the M49. This microphone also uses the K47 capsule, and in fact has a lot of things in common with the U47. However, it's famous for being the first microphone with remotely selectable, continuously variable polar patterns, and that made it one of the most sought-after tube microphones of all time. And that brings us to the other two BU47 configurations that BeesNeez offers, the M7 RP and the K7 RP, RP signifying remote pattern. Now, both of these models offers multiple remotely selectable polar patterns. You've got cardioid, omni, and figure 8, as well as multiple steps in between. Now, these patterns are all selected via the power supply unit. Now, this means that the RP versions of the BeesNeez BU47 effectively replicates the capabilities of both the U47 and the U48, while also offering the versatility of the M49. Now, what could be said about the sound signature of this microphone? Well, the original Neumann U47 could be described as having a warm, rich, and full-bodied sound, which tends to lend an authoritative and intimate feel, especially to vocals. The lower end is deep and full, offering significant weight, and the mid-range is prominent and authoritative, helping the source to sit forward in the mix. And looking at the high end, it tends to be smooth and silky with a gentle presence lift that adds a bit of detail and air without adding any harshness to the sound. The BeesNeez BU47 is everything that the original was, yet it also comes with a few significant improvements. Its upgraded circuit design results in a lower noise floor and an increase in headroom. And of course, notably giving the user choice of capsule allows for subtle tailoring of the sound signature. The M7 capsule brings the classic vintage sound of the early model U47, while the BK47 capsule brings a modern touch with a slight presence lift and a weightier bottom end. And what are the best use cases for this microphone? Well, the BU47 has the ability to add weight, density, and forward presence to a source. On lead vocals, it can make the voice feel bold, large, and authoritative without sounding harsh. And on instruments like acoustic guitar, upright bass, cello, or piano, it tends to feature body, resonance, and detail with great realism. It can also be used effectively as a room mic. For instance, placed in front of a drum kit or a brass section, it has the ability to capture the energy of the source and the room while still smoothing out any harshness in the top end. And of course, if you're using the remote pattern version of the BU47, you'll have access to 9 polar patterns. And this truly opens the door to a range of mono and stereo miking techniques. Each purchase of the BU47 comes with a power supply, a custom-made cable with the original screw-on style connector, a BeesNeez shock mount with pop filter, all packaged in a tough hard case. You can also purchase an additional head unit, making it possible to switch between the M7 and the BK47 capsules while you're in the studio. In conclusion, the BeesNeez BU47 is a faithful, component-level recreation of the legendary Neumann U47. And while capturing the famous sound and character of the original, it also brings some subtle but significant improvements. You've got lower noise floor, a higher headroom, interchangeable capsules, and remote patterns. Yes, more than just a clone, this is a world-class microphone in its own right.